Estamos en vivo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Remedios Gómez Arnau, Consul General of Mexico in San Francisco, and I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to this webinar on the USMCA, the free trade agreement signed by Mexico, United States, and Canada to replace NAFTA that will enter into force this coming July 1st. The featured speaker today is the Vice Minister of Foreign Trade from the Ministry of Economy in Mexico, who is someone very knowledgeable of the free trade agreement, as she participated in the first negotiating team of NAFTA, and then she has followed the evolution of the trade agreement through her different governmental positions. San Francisco is the first place where a series of webinars will take place in the United States. And we are sure that there are new business opportunities for companies in areas that were not before in NAFTA. And now, mainly for the companies here in the Bay Area, we can find new opportunities in digital trade, biotech, fintech, advanced manufacturing, and also for other traditional areas, and as well for small and medium companies. This webinar is presented by the Ministries of Economy and Foreign Affairs of Mexico, the Mexican Embassy in Washington, D.C., this Consulate General in San Francisco, and the Council of and the Bay Area Council Economic Institute. Sean Randolph, its Senior Director, is with us today. He will be addressing you briefly, and after him, Gerardo Lameda, who is the head of the Office of the Ministry of Economy in Washington, D.C., will introduce the Vice Minister de la Mora, and after her presentation, he will be moderating the Q&A session. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Sean, please go ahead, and later, Gerardo Lameda.
Well, thank you very much, Consul General. And I'd like to welcome all of our listeners here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but also around California, the US, and even in Mexico to this morning's session. And we especially want to thank Vice Minister de la Mora for taking her time to be with us today. We're very excited to hear what she has to say about the opportunities that will be presented now by USMCA. My organization, the Bay Area Council Economic Institute, is a public policy think tank. We focus on the San Francisco Bay Area and Silicon Valley, as well as California. And we are part of the Bay Area Council, which is the major business organization for this region. It's about 350 companies, large and small, but most of the iconic companies you had identified with Silicon Valley are members. And we're very focused on the global economy. This is one of the most globally connected economies in the nation through trade, investment, and flows of talent. And so we have been very supportive of this organization of international trade agreements that open the flows of trade, open the flows of investment, and the flows of talent. We've been a strong supporter of USMCA from the beginning, and it's terrific today to be able to talk about how it's going to be implemented. We are also at our institute in the middle of producing a study on Mexico's economic ties with Silicon Valley in the Bay Area that will talk about the opportunities in USMCA. It'll be out by the end of the year, but I'll be taking notes today on what the Vice Minister is saying because it's very, very timely. And it's also timely that we're talking about this today at a time with so much global uncertainty about trade and investment and of the rules and realignment of global supply chains. It is terrific to see our important relationships with North America, with Canada and Mexico, being even more important than in the past. And it's very exciting to me that we are now talking not about passing USMCA or whether there's enough votes for USMCA, but actually talking about how it's going to be implemented, how we develop together these opportunities. So again, I want to welcome all of our listeners today. And again, thank Vice Minister de la Mora for speaking with us, and look forward to our program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Consul Gómez Arnau. Thank you, Sean. Hello to everybody. I hope you are doing well and healthy, and thank you for your participation on this event. Welcome. I am pleased to introduce you to Luz María de la Mora. She is Vice Minister of Foreign Trade in the Ministry of Economy of Mexico. She has been head of the Unit of Economic Relations and International Cooperation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She also served as head of the International Trade Negotiations Unit in the Ministry of Economy and head of the Office of Mexico's Economy Ministry before the European Union in Brussels and ALADI in Montevideo, Uruguay. She served as economic counselor at the Embassy of Mexico in Washington, D.C., and was part of the NAFTA negotiation team. She has been NAFTA Chapter 19 panelist and consultant with the Advisory Committee of the Latin America Division of the World Bank. In the academic field, she has been visiting researcher at the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington, D.C., and at the Center for U.S.-Mexico Studies of the University of California in San Diego. She has been affiliate professor in the International Studies Division of CIDE and is the author of the book Apertura con Reciprocidad. She has been a member of the Mexican Council of International Affairs, COMEXI. She led the We Connect international program in Mexico and the Mexico chapter of Vital Voices Global Partnership, promoting the development and internationalization of women's businesses. She holds a bachelor's degree in international relations from El Colegio de México, a master's in international political economy from Carleton University in Canada, and a PhD in political science from Yale University in the US. She has been a Fulbright Scholar Government of Canada Award holder and CONACYT Fellow. Luz Maria, thank you for being here with us today. The floor is yours.
Here with my dear friend Remedios Gomez Arnau. Remedios, thank you so much for making the opportunity to thank Sean Randolph for hosting this event today. I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and I'm really excited to be able to start this series of webinars on Mexico in San Francisco, a unique place, a very dear city to me, since I spent some time at in the Bay Area for a year while I was doing my PhD. It's really a great honor to be able to share with you some thoughts on USMCA and on what Mexico's opportunities are in this new agreement, but more important, how do we continue to benefit the three countries together in this partnership that we have been able to create for the last quarter of a century. So if you allow me, I will now share my screen so you can offer some remarks, and I will be very happy to get this dialogue. I have to say that I feel very privileged to be able to be close to all of you in spite of this distance that we're, the geographic distance that we're having, and in fact, in spite of that confinement that we're living. So I have to thank technology and all of that technology that has come out from the Bay Area that has allowed us to be here today with you. So let me now go and share my screen. And please, Gerardo, if you can confirm that you can see what I'm showing.
Yes, yes, we can.
It's well. Okay. I want to talk about USMCA first. As you know, we are a few with respect to the implementation of USMCA. This is an agreement that we have been waiting for the last 3 years. We started negotiations in August of 2017 after a very, let's say, rocky road to renegotiations. And rocky road because at some point, many of us thought that NAFTA would be over, and that the kind of certainty, the kind of integration that we were able to create as a result of NAFTA would be over as a result of President Trump's decision to reassess NAFTA and reassess integration in North America. So it is really very encouraging to see that after difficult times and after a lot of work from many people in the three countries, in the private sector, in the public sector, the media, academia, we are able today to have an agreement that will be in place on July 1st. And let me tell you that for Mexico, this is an agreement that is key, since it allows us to continue to be part of the North American region, to continue to be part as a key actor, as a key partner, and as a key ally to the US and Canada, and to be stronger together, to be more competitive together, and to continue to be a region that can bring together the best of the three of us in a partnership where we can, all of us, know that we have a win-win situation. So how do we, or how different is USMCA from NAFTA? And I want to say that there are a lot of issues that are either the same in terms of the objective and the goals. They're the same in terms of disciplines, but there are also a few that are new and that are adjustments. USMCA, like NAFTA, offers certainty. And I think that that's the key value for this agreement. Certainty because it tells us what are the rules that we will apply to trade in goods, services, investment, government procurement, the digital economy, e-commerce, to the three of us. And that will offer certainty to economic operators, producers, exporters, who can use USMCA in one way or another. So it is important to bear in mind that USMCA offers a clear set of rules that allows us to maintain this economic integration that we have worked for in the last more than 25 years. It maintains free trade, and it is an overhaul of NAFTA. In this table that I'm showing you here, you can see the 34 chapters that comprise USMCA. The chapters that you see in the red boxes are those chapters that were taken from NAFTA, were overhauled, modernized, changed, modified, or even like the trade remedies chapter, were basically moved from chapter 19 to chapter 10 with no major changes. And you also see the chapters in green boxes. These are the 10 chapters that include provisions that show the evolution of North American integration. It also shows the way in which we as three partners were able to address some of the main concerns of some sectors in the private, in the labor sector, in the environmental sector, but also in the private sector, that considered that we needed better rules, a better rule book for North America to be able to enjoy the benefits of this integration throughout all sectors in society. So I think that what we have in front of us is a very powerful set of rules that will allow us to move ahead in the kind of integration that will ensure that the free flow of trade, investment takes place in the region, but also that these investments and that this trade in goods, services, agriculture is also takes place hand in hand with clear social benefits, with a clear impact for sectors in society that maybe for one reason or another have not either felt the benefits or have been marginalized. So we want an inclusive trade an innovative trade, and a diversified trade. And that is what USMCA offers. I also want to mention, and I think that this is also something that is very relevant at this point in the history of international trade, that USMCA offers certainty through dispute settlement mechanisms that offer clear ways in which we know that the commitments that the three of us decided to include in this USMCA will be observed. What does that mean? That in case Mexico, the US, or Canada apply some policy or some measure that is in contradiction with our commitments, then there is a mechanism under Chapter 31 to solve dispute settlements. And that is really important because at the end of the day, the process to solve differences among the three of us is a binding process, which means that after a group of experts decides whether there is a violation of our commitments, we will have a decision, and that decision will be binding, either to confirm the measure of the country that imposed it or to reform the measure, withdraw the measure, or offer some kind of compensation. And that, we believe, is extremely important, also given the situation in which the WTO is right now with respect to the dispute settlement mechanism. So the USMCA is a strong, robust set of rules that we know will help companies develop throughout North America and will also help to attract more investment in North America. Now, where are we with respect to North American integration, with respect to USMCA? Where is USMCA coming from? After 25 years of NAFTA, we have a competitive North American region, an integrated North American region, where the three of us, Mexico, the US, and Canada, produce together. We are a manufacturing powerhouse for North America and for the world. We have a market of close to 500 million people. We represent almost 20% of world GDP. We are the first recipient of FDI worldwide, with $323 billion coming to the region in 2018. We, as a bloc, as a region, represent the second global exporter, and we account for almost 16% of total global trade. And among the three of us, we have been able to create a trade of $1.2 trillion, which represents 20% of the region's total trade. So that is a sign of the kind of integration that we have been able to accomplish. We also have to bear in mind that NAFTA and the kind of liberalization of trade in goods and services and investment has enabled us to build a kind of relationship that we did not have more than 25 years ago. Today, Mexico is the US first trading partner, while the US is also Mexico's first trading partner. For Mexico, the US is the market for more than 80% exports and close to 50%. And in the case of Canada, we also have a success story to tell here. Before NAFTA, Canada and Mexico barely knew each other. We barely had any trade. And today, as a result of NAFTA, Mexico is Canada's third largest trading partner, and Canada is Mexico's fourth largest trading partner. And this has been a result of the kind of intra-trade and intra-industry trade and intra-firm trade that NAFTA has allowed us to develop. Today, we see that the three of us trade in sectors like the auto sector, the auto parts sector, the electronic sector, electrical equipment, machinery, and agricultural products. So there is an integration that is evident in the kind of products and sectors in which trade is taking place. And just to give you an idea of where our trade is, For Mexico, international trade is a true engine of growth. And this graph shows you the line on the upper side of the graph is the GDP, is Mexico's GDP growth since the early 1990s. And the bars that you see down there is the trade that Mexico has developed under NAFTA, the trade with the US and with Canada. So you see that there is a very direct relationship for us between our trade, exports and imports in North America and our growth, growth of our own economy. And that, now that it's translated to a bigger picture, you can see here also the synchronicity that we have between our foreign trade with the world and our own domestic growth. As you see in this graph, Mexico and NAFTA served Mexico to create a network of 13 free trade agreements with 50 countries in the world, and also to establish preferential agreements with 6 countries in Latin America. So Mexico today is an open economy with clear ties and with clear bridges under preferential conditions to a population or a potential market of more than 1.3 billion consumers throughout the world in these countries with which we have negotiated free trade agreements. And as I mentioned, today Mexico is the US top trading partner. And I just want to show this graph because I think it's very telling that Mexico has surpassed Canada, China, and many other countries as the most important trading partner to the US, not only in terms of imports, but also in terms of exports, as you see in this graph. Overall, Mexico continues to be a very important trading partner to the extent that we are a partner in production and in consumption to the US. And with respect to the agricultural sector, Mexico is also the top US trading partner in agricultural products. We know that under NAFTA, when NAFTA was implemented initially in Mexico, there was a lot of anxiety and there were a lot of misgivings about the future of agriculture as a result of trade liberalization and investment liberalization. And after more than 26 years, I tell you that NAFTA and the liberalization of the agricultural sector and the economy has been a boost for agriculture in Mexico. Mexico today is among the 10 most important agricultural exporters in the world. And also very important is the fact that we have been able to build an incredible partnership between Mexico, the US, and Canada, where we complement each other, where we offer the kind of variety that consumer demands, where we offer in Mexico a variety of fruits, vegetables to the US consumer, direct consumer, the final consumer. Our food goes to the table of millions of Americans in the US, and that contributes to the health not only of the American families, but also to the health of the US economy. Same for Mexico. Mexico has also benefited tremendously from a very efficient US agriculture in grains, poultry, dairy, and that has been a great complement to Mexican consumers. Our trade has reached almost $650 billion, showing that we are part of global supply chains. And that, I think, is the key word. Mexico, the US, and Canada are stronger, thanks to the creation of global supply chains, specialized in a number of sectors where the three of us have been able to remain competitive throughout the world. And NAFTA has also been an FDI boost for the region, but also for Mexico. Mexico has become an export platform to the North American region as a result of the trade opening that we have experienced, but also as a result of the foreign direct investment that we have been able to attract. And that has been reinforced with the entry into force of other treaties, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation. As you see in this chart, FDI from the US and Canada has increased since the 1990s. This is a graph that shows the investment inflows into Mexico from the US and Canada. Today, the US is our most important investor, foreign direct investor, followed by Canada. Canada today is our third largest investor, only after the European Union as a bloc. And the investment has come, has basically been targeted in the manufacturing sector. Almost half of the investment that Mexico has received in the recent year is in the manufacturing sector, and that also has encouraged and has promoted Mexico's participation in global value chains. I can tell you that today, any company that wants to consider its presence in North America always considers Mexico in its business operations in order to ensure that they will remain competitive in North America, but also in the world. And services is also an important sector where investment is coming also to Mexico: financial services, commercial services, accommodation services, hotels, transportation, real estate, information, construction, and a whole host of services, since the Mexican economy is basically very open in services to foreign direct investment and private sector investment. And just to finish with this part of this section of the presentation, Mexico is also a key partner for many, for the US, but also for many states throughout the US. Mexico is the largest export market for 7 US states, as you can see in this map. That includes California, where California has a share of 16% of total US trade with Mexico, while Mexico is the second largest export market for 9 US states. Those in green are the ones that have Mexico as the second largest export market. And Mexico is also the third largest export market for 3 US states. So as you can see, for 29 out of the 50 states in the US, Mexico is among the top 3 export market, which shows the kind of results that we have been able to reach as a result of NAFTA. And this is the background again enter into effect on July 1st. And I think that the numbers that I have shown you and the kind of relationship and integration that Mexico, the US, and Canada have been able to build in these more than 20 years is the perfect setting for USMCA to continue to build on this success story and on this integration. And let me go now to talk a little bit more specifically about how USMCA can boost trade between Mexico and California, and how we can continue to build this very productive relationship. First of all, let me tell you that Secretary Marquez recently signed Governor of Kunalakis. This was, we already have bilateral legal instrument that intends to build on NAFTA. Now it will build on USMCA to increase our trade flows and promote investment between California and Mexico. This is an instrument that recognizes the importance of California for a good, positive, constructive, and productive relationship between both of us, but also between the US and Mexico. And it shows also the interest that both of us have in strengthening facilitation, the digital economy, and SMEs. Now, let me tell you about the trade overview between Mexico and California, just to offer you a few figures that will reflect the importance of our trade. For 572,200 jobs in California are supported by trade with Mexico, according to information from the U.S. Census Bureau. California exports to Mexico reached 27.8 billion in 2019, accounting for 60% of its total exports to the world, while California imports from Mexico amounted to 46.7 billion in 2019, accounting for 11.4% of its total imports. And in this graph, you can see how California's trading goods with Mexico has between 2009 and 2019. Mexico is California's top export market. We continue to be the largest buyer of California products, and we account for a greater share than China and Japan combined. And the sectors in which we see this trade taking place is also representative, I think, of the deep integration that both countries have been able to develop. And that is trade in the same sectors, in same industries, automobiles, the electronic sectors. We see televisions, computers, telephones, electric and electronic switches. We also see in the agricultural sector a good complementary trade, and in other devices like medical instruments. So this is a symbol and a sign of the kind of productive integration that we have been able to develop. Now, Mexico, as I said, is a key partner and a key ally, but also a trustworthy ally for developing California businesses. And I want to only show right now 5 reasons why Mexico is a good trading partner and Mexico should be considered in any business decision in California. Mexico ranks among the world's top emerging markets with a young population. On average, our population in Mexico is 27 years old, and we are a market of more than 130 million potential consumers. We have a stable and an open economy. I know that right now we are all going through a very difficult time as a result of this pandemic, which has had very drastic and dramatic impacts on the economy, on companies, on businesses, on jobs. But we also know that this situation will pass and our integration will remain. And this is the agreement that will allow us to continue to grow and to continue to create those business opportunities and those jobs. Mexico has also a network of 13 free trade agreements with 50 countries. And this network offers preferential access to more than 1.3 billion consumers in economies that represent more than 60% of the world's GDP. Mexico is a manufacturing leader and continues to grow its global manufacturing base in a wide range of industries. Without a question, Mexico is a unique emerging market to the extent that we have been able to attract and develop a manufacturing base of export products and products that incorporate technology, advanced technology, and also state-of-the-art technology. So that makes Mexico a very competitive platform for production. Mexico also boasts a human resource pool with young workers and a highly workforce. Let me tell you that every time we talk to companies in Mexico, they always praise the kind of labor availability that they have for their production. They always say that the human resources in Mexico are extremely creative, extremely committed, and they identify human capital in Mexico as one of the biggest assets that any company can have when they establish in Mexico. And also, there are high productivity results and competitiveness combined that makes Mexico an open and ideal trading partner and an attractive place to invest. As a result of the USMCA's new rules of origin, we are convinced that new regional value chains in North America will be able to replace imports from outside the region. This is both an opportunity and a challenge. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic has forced companies to rethink their the restructuring of their own production value chains, of their own supply chains, and also how to build resilient value chains that reduce vulnerability to the kind of effects that the pandemic has had, breaking right now logistics, breaking supply chains. And USMCA for sure will locate North America as a strong site for the operation of regional value chains. And in this sense, Mexico can make a very important contribution for those companies who are reassessing or reconsidering how to the value chains, how to decouple from some suppliers that are far away, or simply to try to reduce the vulnerability and diversify their supply chains. Mexico has developed, as I mentioned, a competitive and qualified workforce, an efficient infrastructure network, a global platform of global supply chains, a network of logistic services, and a strong and an innovative and diversified industrial platform. So all these features, without a question, make Mexico an ideal partner for any company or any sector that may want to rethink restructuring, along with the fact that under USMCA, the new rules of origin will require more local supply. COVID-19 has also shown us in Mexico that openness in trading services and investment has been the most important asset to maintain the economy going. We have seen that in this situation of the COVID-19, the services sector, as it relates to the digital economy, e-commerce, online banking and financial services, health services, education, entertainment, and a whole host of areas have been able to keep the economy going, have been able to keep jobs going, and it has been an incredible alternative to the regular operation of the economy as it used to be. So this is also one of the biggest assets in USMCA. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the USMCA has integrated disciplines for the digital economy, for e-commerce, telecommunications, financial services, intellectual property protection, investment protections, and a whole host of areas that will help strengthen the economy that can allow us to remain competitive in this COVID-19 challenge. We know that COVID-19 is faced. Hopefully it is a temporary challenge that we will have to face, but we also think that COVID-19 is having an impact on the way we do business, on the way we develop businesses, and it has also allowed the creativity of the business community to develop new opportunities. And I think that what we have to keep in mind is that the USMCA already offers the rules for those kinds of businesses, initiatives, investments to boost, to flourish and to develop new lines of business and new jobs that I'm sure will add value to Mexico and to North America. And let me finish this presentation by letting you know that we are ready to work with you in California, in the United States, to make USMCA the best for all of us. So as of July 1st, the Ministry of Economy makes the USMCA Export Assistance Center available to all companies, entrepreneurs, and anybody who wants to make use of USMCA. So I want to let you know that we're ready to receive your comments, questions and requests with respect to USMCA implementation, with respect to any business opportunities that you want to develop in Mexico, and we will be happy to help you. In this slide, please find both in Mexico and in the US the email address where you can send your requests, and also a hotline we have established for all of you to be able to establish this dialogue that I'm sure will be very fruitful to keep our integration in North America going. You also see here our website. Please feel free to consult our website. And I only want to say that I'm very happy to be able to inaugurate this set of webinars with you in California. Thank you, Remedios. Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much, Gerardo, for putting this together. And let's make the best out of this starting July 1st. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Minister de la Mora. Now we can move on the agenda and start with a Q&A session. We received dozens of questions. Thank you for your interest and for sending your questions in advance. It helped us to organize this session better. And due to the time we have available, it's difficult to answer all of them. Nevertheless, we will send a written response to each of them by the same email that we received. And if you have any further questions, please contact us. It is important that you know that we have this USMCA Export Assistance Center. It's a digital platform, as Vice Minister de la Mora said, created to provide commercial, legal, and technical information about the USMCA. Its purpose is to highlight business opportunities and the trade benefits that the modernization of the agreement offers to the business community and to the small and medium-sized enterprises of North America. So we would like to invite you to use our platform and be a frequent user of it. So moving on the questions, we have one first question for Vice Minister Luz Maria de la Mora. It says, how was COVID-19 affected trading in business between Mexico and the US and China? Thank you. Hello?
Gerardo, can you hear me,
Yes.
Gerardo?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
And see you as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so if I'm right, in the US and China?
Between Mexico and the US and China, yes.
Okay, yes, thank you. Well, I think that, thank you for the question. I think that it's a very timely question and also a very challenging one. It is without anybody's, to anybody's surprise that China has been a big player in North America and in North American integration. Both Mexico and the US have sourced in the past inputs, components, machinery, equipment in order to be able to produce in North America. It has been some time, even before COVID-19, that these value chains and this relationship with respect to China have been under some strain as a result of the trade tensions between the US and China. And there are many companies that are already, and that was even before COVID-19, that were already considering relocation of their own operations, logistics services, manufacturing sectors, all sorts of areas in which companies were looking for alternative places. Now with COVID-19, we see the importance that supply chains have in order to be able to operate production of companies. And we also saw the kind of vulnerabilities, fragilities, and weaknesses that some value chains have as they have been spreading throughout the world. And both USMCA, the entry into force of USMCA, the kind of commercial tensions that we have seen between the US and China, and the effects of the pandemic, I think that have set the context to really reassess what part of the value chain and how can we restructure these value chains with the idea of building resiliency. And this resiliency is going to help companies to remain competitive, or even for some of them, is going to allow them to survive. So in this respect, Mexico has always been there. And I think that this is the right moment to assess how Mexico can contribute to the decoupling, to the restructuring, and to the resiliency of global value chains in North America. So Mexico has been able to develop an industrial base, an industrial infrastructure that not many emerging markets can show. And in this respect, I think that right now we are ready to help companies look into those opportunities that they may be looking for to build stronger and more resilient value chains in North America. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz Maria. So we have another question here which says, how does the USMCA help tech companies, innovation, and venture capital?
Well, I think that USMCA, among other very important things, I would mention two. One of them has to do with intellectual property protection. The chapter that we have developed, the three of us, and that we will put in place as of July 1st, it encourages or seeks to protect innovations. It seeks to protect all sorts of areas that are related to innovation, inventions, value add, through the protection of industrial secrets, copyright, industrial designs, patents, trademarks, and a whole host of areas that are of key relevance to the development of innovation. Not only is a new set of rules, but also rules that are enforceable and rules that have sanctions. So I think that that will definitely encourage the creation of an environment that will be more conducive to the development of innovation. I also want to add that in the financial, we have been able to create the kinds of rules that will help fintechs. Mexico is the number one country that has developed fintechs that are strong and that have a promising future. And that shows you that Mexico already has some ecosystem, as we like to say in the entrepreneurial argot. There's an ecosystem of fintechs that are being developed. And I am sure that with the provisions that are established in the USMCA, the financial sector in the digital economy will be able to further develop. We have an economy where almost 70–80% of the population has access to the internet, and we are looking for developing more infrastructure and technology that can help develop those financial operations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, are there new opportunities for companies offering digital services from Mexico?
Well, yes, I think that Mexico is still in a very early stage of developing of the digital economy, Industrial Revolution 4.0. And I think that what we're looking for, and that's one of the pillars that we are pursuing in the Ministry of Economy, we're pursuing innovation at all levels, processes, products, services, with the idea of being able to offer better better standards of living for the people, for the companies in Mexico. And we know that it is through the digital economy that we're going to be able to do that. Let me offer you an example. Today in Mexico, we have companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter, all that. But we're still looking for that creation of the Mexican Amazon or the Mexican Alibaba or the Mexican. There's huge room for that to develop, and we are still in the early stages of that kind of development. And I'm sure that with the creativity, innovation, and experience of companies in the US, we may be able to develop these new enterprises in Mexico. Thank you. No te oigo, no te oigo.
Sorry?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. In order to comply with that time limit, we have one final question, which is, with respect to free flow of data, what are some practical examples that will benefit or see new services innovation from this free flow of data across borders?
Yeah, that's a very good question. As you said, yes, Mexico, the US, and Canada agreed to the free flow of data among the three of us in the region. And we believe that that will boost the transformation of the economy going into the fourth industrial revolution, more so after the changes in consumer behavior and industry processes accelerated by the pandemic. We believe that supply chains will be probably one of the most benefited from this provision, because just-in-time supply chains depend on real-time data flows to optimize inventories, logistics, delivery, distribution, all sorts of services that may ensure these supply chains to remain competitive. I could say that a growing number of industries rely on the free flow and sharing of information to operate, such as agriculture, entertainment, software development, design, industrial design, biotech, pharmaceutical, cloud services, 3D printing. I mean, you name them, they are all there. So the free flow of data is a fundamental principle for the development of the Internet of Things, where products and services are interconnected through the cloud. And that will help to, we hope, to be able to help satisfy the needs and requirements of society, of companies, and will allow Mexico to go into the next step of innovation and to make a complete transformation to the digital economy, the Internet of Things, and the fourth industrial revolution. So that's why data flows are key to our development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That will be all for now. Thank you all for your participation and your interest on this webinar. All of the questions that remained unresponded, we're going to send a written response of all of them. And I want to thank you, Vice Minister de la Mora, for her time, and Consul Gomez Arnaud for hosting us, and also the Bay Area Council Economic Institute and Sean Randolph for having us here. Thank you very much. We value your time, and we invite you to continue doing business with Mexico, now in this new phase with the USMCA starting July 1st. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.